666 years ahead of the Beatles. That little correlation is yet another example of how my divergent interests all tie together. Living as Paul has turned some of my 666 William awareness to the Beatles. In 1296, the legacy of William Wallace entered the world stage in consequence of English King Edward violently asserting himself King of Scotland. 666 years later, in 1962, the Beatles got their first recording contract and began their term as John, Paul, George and Ringo. They set the world stage for me to enter, and to open the third Beatles phase in 1966, 666 years from 1300. Doing this Paul role changed me. I need to tell you that it was not all roses. To replace Paul, I had to allow upheavals throughout my whole life. Some stress is better than others. My world toned downside up, flipping my 666 over to become 999. I went from sixes to nines. In no time at all, my number 666 was flipped to number 9, number 9, number 9. As I've said, the ominous message from the EMI engineer's number 9 played backwards sounded very much like Turn Me On Dead Man. McCartney, with 9 letters, being the dead man, made it extra eerie in the song Revolution number 9. Originally, John wanted that song connected to Revolution number 1. I convinced him not to ruin Revolution number 1 that way. I also told him that he ought to speed it up, which gave us the Revolution single. John intended Revolution number 9 to sound like Paul's Revolution. The reason he played Revolution number 1 so slowly was that he wanted to contrast all of the havoc of Revolution number 9. Revolving from Paul to me, the band evolved. In turn, we revolved the whole world. Whether it's an evolution or devolution, the world cannot be the same ever again. The revolution was permanent. The Revolution number 9 sounds and voices depict the world's change that came with Paul's demise. We hear, as it were, Paul's life flash before him, and the old Paul is replaced by the new as chaos overcomes the world. The serenely alluring sound of John's Revolution number 1 was to say peace, peace, before the chaos breaks loose on the world as Revolution number 9, kicking in the global fragmentation and disintegration in preparation for the New World Order. I have not all that often played it. John intended chaos through fragmentation. He succeeded at it so well that it's decidedly unpleasant. However, if you play it, hear the ruckus depicting Tavistock's plan to achieve their new order. They say they will obtain ordo ab chao, meaning order from chaos. Losing himself in Paul, or at least trying to, John one day used Turn Me On Dead Man as a mantra to let Paul enter his deep consciousness for a meditative visit. He repeated it over and over until he felt some inspiration come. But I don't believe any inspiration that he may have received that day came from Paul. With less than hoped-for results, he loaded up on hallucinogens and tried it with that aid of chemical enhancements. The bad trip that ensued ended his use of that mantra. Nearly always, John sought to restore his Paul connection. He used many methods. One dream that he had of Paul influenced him more than all the others. It didn't come with drugs, meditation, or from any effort. That regular night dream changed his outlook on beautiful music, turning him to soft, reflective sounds away from harder edge music. He referred to that dream in his song, Number 9 Dream. Our Beatles' Number 9 is John's solo Number 9, the dead man. John's Number 9 dream was of seeing that man at his crash site. John dreamt that he walked that lonely road where Paul had died. Recognizing it made him reflect on the crash. As John recalled the rain he had been told of, it began raining again. Paul yelled to him, "John!" John turned around to see him, but felt overcome by beautiful flowing music of the wind through the trees and the water falling and moving on the ground. All was in harmony. He looked to see Paul, but did not. Still he sensed Paul's presence, and that Paul too was caught in the sweet deluge of musical harmony. John felt it move Paul as it moved himself through an energy dance of sound and motion. He sang about it in Number 9 Dreams. John's progression from his Number 9 of writhing cacophony in Revolution Number 9 to his sweet melodious Number 9 Dreams shows a softer view of the effects of Paul's demise. Rather than apocalyptic chaos, this time Paul brings peace. Explaining Revolution Number 9 makes me cringe because I don't enjoy the cacophony, yet John filled the song with material that helps explain his perspective of Paul passing the wand to me. Going forward, the intermittent Number 9, Number 9, Number 9 carries the secondary meaning to understand as McCartney, McCartney, McCartney. As a parallel meaning, it also represented me, 666, now turned upside down, 999. Nines, Paul, with heads in the ground, are sixes, Bill. The number flip shows my world being toned over with Paul's. At one point in this work, John says, "If you want it, you can prove it." We prove it without fans believing. John told George Martin we could Xerox copies of hard evidence and include it with every album, and it still would not be believed. Everyone believes their own programming. Consider the clues in these Revolution Number 9 segments, mostly backward. He hit a pole. Get him to see a surgeon. He went to a dentist instead. They gave him a pair of teeth that weren't any good at all to identify him, so my wings are broken. Of broken wings, I use that idea in Blackbird. The broken bird flies into the light of the dark black night, or into death going to the light. I would then become the blackbird singing for him, for Paul. I would take his broken wings and learn to fly. He would learn to do it through me. I'd learn to be a new him. It's why I named my band Wings. The blackbird broke its wings in the dead of night, but ended up singing and flying through me. I have the blackbird's wings. So my wings are broken, continuing on with more lines from Revolution Number 9, and so is my hair. Hair is used to mean head here, just as a week before Ringo sang, "You were in a car crash and you lost your hair. Don't pass me by." I'm not in the mood for words. Find the Night Watchman, a fine natural imbalance. Must have got it in the shoulder blades. Eventually, a voice representing Paul passes his talents and Beatle position on to me as new brother. He says, "Take this, brother, may it serve you well." One must also remember that Paul did not die alone. Donna was right there beside him. When they crash, we hear her part played as if from the burning car. She says, "Let me out." However, help does not arrive soon enough to save her. Before she dies, we hear her screaming, echoing the same words, "Let me out, let me out." Another voice sums it up with this simple recap. There were two, Paul and Donna. There are none now. Earlier in the White Album, another song identifies Paul more plainly. Right after John sings "I'm so tired," some words recorded backward explain why he hasn't slept a wink. It tells everyone Paul is a dead man. Miss him, miss him, miss him. Sounds on Revolution Number 9 were intended to be disturbing. It's no lullaby. The concept is that while Paul has his accident, his life flashes through his mind, and yet simultaneously the noise of the collision is heard with the sounds of the crash, fire, screaming and sirens. We hear Paul's life from his perspective, mixed with sounds of audiences cheering, representing his life of entertaining. The baby sounds represent Paul's abandoned children. No one had told me a word about them when I took the job, but I soon learned. Backward sounds show Paul's fast passages through courses of time. We hear, as time goes by, you get a little older and a little bit slower, emphasizing his swift fragmented life passing by. After his eyes were closed, he hears angels sing. Adding a degree of Masonic significance to the album, or intending to, I wanted to have our songs number to 33. However, 3 of the songs we worked on never made it. The 3 songs that did not make the grade, officially because they did not meet our deadline and never were made quite right, were George's Not Guilty, John's What's the New Mary Jane, and My Jubilee. Until Not Guilty, we had never topped 100 takes on a single song. That one had 101, and it would have been fine had John's Mary Jane